How's it going here? Welcome to my camera comparison between the LG V40, V50, and V60. I've been looking forward to doing this camera comparison for a very long time because I originally compared the V50 to the V60 when the V60 first launched, and at the time I actually preferred the V50 because I felt its main wide and telephoto lenses actually performed a little bit better than the V60. But I've since actually tried out the cameras on the V60 since its Android 11 update, and I feel that they've been improved since the original launch. So I decided to bring in a V40 because I thought that was pretty much the same phone as the V50, except of course the V50 has the next generation chipset. But since I like the cameras on the V50 so much, I figured if the V40 performs about the same, then maybe people could save some money and go with the V40 if camera performance was going to be the main deciding factor between these three phones. Now that the V60 is on the Android 11 update and the V40 and V50 are here on their latest updates, I thought this would be a good time to do a camera comparison between all three. And you know, like I always do, I like to show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions to help you decide which of these three camera systems might be best for you. So go ahead and check out all the photos and videos. I'll come back at the end and let you know which one I like the best. But checking them out and let me know, drop me a comment. Let me know which one you thought you liked the best. Which one would you pick out of these three if you had to use them as your main camera phone? So let's go ahead and check out all the photos and videos. Hey everyone, so I'm outside testing the video on the rear-facing cameras on the LG V40, V50 and V60. This is the ultra-wide angle lens on each, and I'll pan around here to give you a feel for what the ultra-wide angle cameras look like on each of these phones. I'm going to have to stop the recording because the V40 doesn't allow me to change between the lenses while actively recording. The V50 and V60 I can do that, but I'm going to have to stop this recording because of that. Just want to give you a quick shot of the ultra-wide angle lenses before we continue. So I'm going to stop the recording and I'll come right back. Okay, so I'm back with the main lens on each now. So this is the 1x main wide angle sensor on each of the three phones, the V40, V50 and V60. I'll pan around to give you a feel for what this camera looks like here in this same setting here. And I'll go ahead and pan over here to the right, and we'll go ahead and test out the zoom on the cell tower like I usually do. So let's go into the telephoto on the V40, on the V50 and on the V60. So that's all 2x telephoto zoom, and we'll go and zoom in on the V40 max 10x digital, and that looks really super clear and stable. Actually, I'm pretty surprised. Let's go with the V50 now, same 10x, and looks just as clear and just as steady. And let's go in with the V60 here, also max 10x digital zoom, and at least the viewfinder not quite as clear as the other two. So that's 10x zoom all three. Let's back them out. 1x there on all three. Let's test autofocus here on the post first with the V40. So there we go. Fast and snappy autofocus here from the V40. And refocus away as well. Nice shallow depth of field, blurred out background there with good subject separation. Now the V50. Same thing. Really snappy autofocus and refocus. And let's try here with the V60. Also quite fast autofocus and refocus away here. So all three pretty good looking autofocus. Now let's go ahead and walk down the stairs and test stabilization here at 4K. All three are stabilized at 4K, so this should be looking pretty good, but let me know if you see any kind of notices and differences in stabilization between the three phones here. And I'll pull up here and I'll pan up into the tree so I can see what the camera footage looks like here into the changing lighting conditions. Hey everyone, so here's some footage from the front-facing cameras on the LG V40, V50 and V60. And right off the bat, you'll notice that the LG V60 has a much more narrow field of view. It's much more cropped in than the V40 and the V50. Stabilization is turned on all three, so it's not just the crop for stabilization. You're just going to get a lot tighter view, and you're going to fit a lot less in the frame on the V60 than you will on the V40 and the V50. So again, I'm outdoors. I like to start testing out in some even lighting conditions here in the shade, so you can kind of see what these cameras can do outdoors in some fairly optimal light conditions without a lot of harsh light to start out here. But I'll continue to pan around so you can kind of see what this footage looks like as the lighting conditions change a little bit. So as I get this way, the sun is now directly behind me, and you can see what that does to the background. It's going to get blown out, but it does a decent job of keeping me in focus and fairly well exposed, as it should be doing. And we'll keep turning around here so you can see how it changes, and we're back. And we'll go ahead and start walking to test stabilization here to give a feel for what that looks like here on each of the three different phones. So let me know what you think of the footage here on the front-facing camera between the LG V40, the V50 and the V60. everyone, so here's some low light footage from the rear facing cameras on the LG V40, V50 and V60. This is being shot at 4K 30 frames per second. So I'll just pan around so you can see what each of these cameras look like here in this particular low light scene. You can see how they perform up into that really bright street light there. Not too bad considering. I've seen other phones flare that light out a lot more than these three. And we'll pan over here to the left so you can see how it looks when shooting those trees. You can see some pretty decent definition in those trees, so lifting up some of the shadows and creating some pretty good definition there. So let's go ahead and pan around this way, and we'll start walking to test stabilization. And of course we started from that pretty well lit area, and we'll be walking over to a much darker area so we can kind of see how each of these phones handle that light transition from that pretty well lit area to this much darker area that we're going to head into around the corner. Already it's getting much darker. You can kind of see how each of these phones are handling that. They are lifting up and brightening up the scene a little bit more than what I can see with my own eyes here. And we'll just walk out here. Now it's pretty fairly dark, and the phones are brightening up the area a little bit more, so that's not really how it looks to my eye, at least what I'm seeing in the viewfinder here. We'll pan up into the sky. There's a good amount of cloud cover right now, so you can see some of that cloud definition there and how that compares from all three phones and how they're handling that. Let's go ahead and pan over here to the left, where there's a little bit more light down this alleyway, so you can kind of see how that looks in this lighting situation here in 4K on all three of these phones. Hey everyone, so here's some footage from the front-facing cameras on the LG V40, V50 and V60. So obviously we're in some low light, but some pretty ideal conditions with a good amount of light to the left and right of me, as you can see right there. So I just wanted to show you what these cameras look like in some fairly optimal lighting conditions here in low light. And of course, off the bat, you'll notice that the V40 and V60, or V40 and V50 have a wider field of view, while the LG V60 has a much tighter crop. So let's go ahead and start walking to test stabilization, and we'll also walk over to a darker area so you can see what these front-facing cameras look like as the lighting conditions get much darker. And also I'll start walking here, and I'm approaching a fountain to my right, so we'll see how that background noise competes with the sound of my voice and how the microphones are performing here on all three of these phones. But let's go ahead and pan around this way so you can see how these front-facing cameras perform with some really bright lights behind me. And really not too bad considering how bright those lights are. They're not really flaring them out as bad as I've seen on some other phones. But let's pause here in this darker area so you can compare all three phones in this darker lighting condition here. But do let me know what you thought of all the photos and videos here between the three different phones. Personally, I still think the LG V50 is the best as far as its rear cameras. I like how the photo quality looks, and I just think it provides more detail, takes better shots time over time. The LG V60 still kind of is not quite always in focus. The large sensor is still not quite optimized, although it has improved greatly since it was first released to me. And the LG V40 was a bit disappointing with its telephoto lens because it really can't focus too well at close proximity, and I like to use my telephoto for macro photos. And so unfortunately, telephoto lens is kind of useless to me on the V40, although its main and ultra wide perform pretty close to the V50. So all in all, personally for me, I would still take the LG V50 for those reasons, but that's just me. Leave a comment down below and let me know which one you preferred, if you agree or you disagree with me. Let's continue our conversation down there. Any other questions or comments, leave it down below as well. And as always, thanks for watching.